Hey, how's it going? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I typed in a question in the chat window about running an AHK program which has a menu in the tray. And what the program does is it monitors for file changes and then synchronizes the file to a local directory on the end user computer. So the problem that I have with the program, it works great, but once it starts the loop where it actually checks the files and it starts copying a file, when you try to open the right-click menu on the tray, the menu won't display until it's in the middle of a copy process or it finishes the cycle. So I'm just looking for some ideas maybe to get around that.
Oh, Jackie, you're muted. I'm going to unmute yourself there if you can.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, that's better. Interesting. But yeah, have you seen HotKey? Watch directory or watch folder. It's a script somewhere on the old forum.
No, I may have to take a look at that. What I have done is it doesn't watch. It only checks every 20 minutes or whatever time frequency I set for it. And
yeah,
it
but
file, modified date.
Yeah,
or save date.
With HotKey, he is using a built-in method. He's connecting to it, and then using one of Windows' own functions to keep track of file changes and file creations and stuff like that, file modification. And you can simply set a flag for whatever you want to check within a specific folder. And then you can build a script around that. And it's not looping over it. It's getting the calls or the information directly from Windows.
That sounds like a nice improvement. So that's called FolderWatch?
Yeah, something like that, or Watch Folder.
I think it's Watch Folder, if I remember right. I've used it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So when you unmuted everybody, I think people were talking over each other, but now people ain't really that chatty.
Yeah, so they need to unmute themselves. I think it was Joe on the line said he actually had recorded it. So with any luck, we'll get a copy of that and post it out there. Which is awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. For once, when we forgot it, it's nice to have someone else thinking about that.
Yeah.
So we can actually share it with people. That's a sad oversight, but still nice if we can get it that way. I saw in the chat some different back and forth on this with running a macro from Excel using AutoHotkey or not. And I'm like, yeah, you could do that most of the time if you just wanted to, let's say, format an Excel sheet. But to me, if you actually want to take out the information and present it somewhere else or post it somewhere, I don't see that as being quite as useful as going in directly via COM and grabbing the information. It's nice that you could just record a VBA macro and run that from AutoHotkey. But if you actually want to get the values into your own variables and interact with it that way, I see AutoHotkey being able to do that more easily if you build it in AutoHotkey compared to actually building it in VBA.
Okay, I made a comment about that, and I can speak briefly to it. But I've got a pretty large library in Excel already. It's built in a modular form. So there's some cases where maybe I want to help the user out and then direct them to the right program, then open up a script that does a particular action on the Excel sheet. So I can use something that I've already written. In that case, I may want to open Excel, open a workbook, and then run a macro that's already been written for that case. Yeah,
I've been in similar situations where I've kind of weighted the two against each other, and some people will more easily accept a macro that's built into Excel compared to both having an Excel sheet and let's say an exit from a compiled AutoHotkey script. So absolutely, some stuff that you can do simply in Excel can, of course, stay there. And that's also why I'm saying that most of the time, it's only if you actually need the values available to you in the script.
Yeah, and something else that I can pass on to you guys is with Excel, it will give you a macro warning if you just open a file with a script in it. But if you load the file as an add-in, or you another trick is to put it in your Excel start folder and open it that way, it's not going to show you an error message because it's part of Excel, or Excel thinks it's part of the program and doesn't show you that macro warning. Yeah. So the way I use that is I have a built-in menu, and once you install the program, you'll get the message initially to install it, but then when it's just loaded from the Excel start folder or as an add-in, it doesn't give you the macro warning.
Yeah, I've simply turned off macro warnings for myself, but of course I can't do that for any types of users.
Right.
I could use an AutoHotkey script to help them turn it off, but still they might not want that. So yeah.
Yeah, and really in a corporate environment, you wouldn't want to circumvent the built-in security.
Exactly.
Not to that degree, anyway.
No.
If they knew I was doing half the stuff I was doing, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Absolutely.
Thankfully, we're not talking about this like in an open area where someone might hear.
No, and they can never find it on your website or anything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked the participants to see if there was any of my LinkedIn contacts on there. Yeah.
Nice. Well done.
That's funny.
Sure. So yeah, I don't know if there were any other good questions that we could take up from.
Or bad ones.
Or bad ones, yeah, but everyone is still very welcome to chime in if they have something.
Oh yeah, I mentioned in the chat that I use the synchronization script for files, and I'm using that with an Excel program that we have that we're copying these database files to the end user computer so that we can do searches on them. They're Microsoft Access. And some of the files, we have files that are up to 1 gigabyte in size. And so if we initially had that script inside of Excel, and maybe you're waiting 5 or 10 minutes for a copy to file, or a file to copy, and that's locking up Excel while that's happening. So the purpose of the synchronization script in AHK was to just take that out of Excel, put it in another program so that it can run alongside of Excel and you can still work in Excel. So that's a pretty good application for AHK.
Absolutely. And again, whatever people find of interesting thing, I think I posted up something on my website today, and there was a comment on Facebook about it, whereas someone, I can't remember, he said, if you use AutoHotkey to automate it, you are kind of doing it wrong, because
I saw that.
You actually need to focus more on whatever it is that you are automating, because it needs to just get more focus and be removed from the workflow, which kind of seems weird, because isn't that what people are actually doing? They're handed a program that has some kind of tedious task or workflow associated with it, and then they're automating around that process, not because it couldn't be done better, but because they don't have access to it being done better than by themselves. That's how I've seen it.
I kind of had the feeling and he's not wrong, or whoever posted it was, look, there's a bigger issue. Right, you're trying to patch stuff that, hey, we should take a step back and have a better approach. Absolutely, right. But you know what? If that's going to cost $100,000, and yet I can write something in a half hour that is going to negate the need and automate, the vast majority of what I'm doing and be very reliable, then that's realistically the way to go.
Yeah, the interesting part is that the employer that I have now is a company that's doing really, really well, and compared to where I've been before, where our funds was quite limited, if you bought a license for some program, then you use the program as is and work with whatever kinks there was. Whereas now, with the company that I'm at currently, if something seems off or weird, either we are going to buy something that works better, or we are getting it extended to our need. So I don't have the same use for my own tinkering with these small issues, but still, I have seen it so many places now where you're limited by most of the time funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other, and it's a great point, the general approach is like programs like Excel and Outlook and Word, right? They are written for the masses, right?
Yeah.
To be able to be, they're not customized anyway. And then of course in Excel and those tools, you can do a lot within them. But often, like, wouldn't it be nice if I could just hit a button and have it do X, Y, and Z and write an email and attach certain files and do? Hell yes, it is, and that's when I get back to, well, I can do it in a half hour with AutoHotkey, and it almost always works. I mean, and it's easy. Like you said, part of it's because I know it, but
yeah,
I disagreed. I didn't want to get the commentation back and forth though of debate over it. Right?
No, because what the person on Facebook got to was absolutely right. It's not because that area that whatever number of users is using too much time on doesn't need focus, and perhaps AutoHotkey isn't the right tool to do it in. If you see it from a programmer's standpoint, it should be fixed within the program code itself. But most of the time, people don't have either the the idea, the economics, or the
ability.
The say-so. They might not have that kind of weight to kind of decide that the program needs to be changed or whatever it is. And if their boss or whoever have said to them, you need to go in here manually, type these 1,000 lines of the same thing, why shouldn't they be allowed to automate it without a hotkey if they know it? Instead of saying, we need to change the program so the program can write this for us.
So here's a good example of, and I know there's a workaround, right? Maybe it's in VBA, but in Excel itself, you can't do regex, right? I know that there's a function out there that allows you, if it's an add-on, that if you install it, you can. But I love to be able to use AutoHotkey to do regex on the stuff inside Excel and feed it right back into Excel, and it's really easy and fast.
Yeah, again, a lot of the things that I've kind of used it for is taking values from somewhere else and putting it into Excel, or taking values from Excel and putting it into somewhere else. And VBA might be able to do some of it, might be able to do all of it if you know VBA well enough. But to me, because I know AutoHotkey better, it's just way simpler to do it that way.
The other one that I know it's capable of VBA, but what I often do is I'll do some web scraping with AutoHotkey, and of course I'm using IE. I'll get it out of there. I'll dump it into a file. I'll open it in Excel. I'll manipulate it, make it pretty, save it as an Excel file, even in different versions for different people, and then write emails to people and automate attaching that email. So this is all one program, right? And it just cranks through the whole thing. And yes, you can do that in VBA, but if you're using now this is where my knowledge breaks down, but it's not visual. It's the VBA versus Visual Basic is slightly different, right? And that if you're just using it from within the macro recorder stuff that we're using, do you have access to all the different program objects? I'm not sure of that.
You might not have to all of them, but you do have to more than just
Okay.
Than just Excel. I was trying to control your computer. I couldn't. So, yeah. But I wanted to open the code window and kind of point to some of it. But yeah, you can. But again, it depends on what you're used to, because of course, as long as we are only using programs that would allow you to control it with COM, VBA would have at least, if not a better connectability with that. Whereas AutoHotkey, of course, comes in when you want to show it in a GUI, and if you want to do stuff with programs that doesn't let you nearly as easily control them with COM. Whereas if you are, let's say, something that's programmed with Java, or something that's made with some other Windows form or whatever it might be, and you needed to grab values from specific places or put it in, to me, it's easier to write the code that does these more general things without hotkey than it is to do it with VBA. And again, with most programming languages, you can do it. It's not because you can't do the same stuff that AutoHotkey is doing. And that's also why I'm often reluctant to say that AutoHotkey is better at something than others. Because again, AutoHotkey is written in C++. So for the most part, it will never become better than C++. But stuff can be easily accessed. It can, you can more easily either remember or type up what you need to do in AutoHotkey than you can do in C++. And that's the same thing that you need to apply to everything else that you do with AutoHotkey. You may be able to write the code quicker, but with VBA, where you have the recorder and it is so similar to how you would do it in AutoHotkey anyway, you don't have that differentiation. So what you need to look at instead is what other things are you actually using AutoHotkey for in that specific situation. So if you're just using it to manipulate Excel, you might not need to use AutoHotkey to do it.
Right.
But it's not the same thing as you can't, and it's not the same thing as it's worse to use AutoHotkey for it, because you're using the same COM object method anyway. So it's just the flavor that you're doing it with. I don't see those two actually outperforming each other.
Yeah.
Might be a way to put it.
Yeah, one's not superior, right? It depends on what you're working on, what your need is, what your knowledge is.
Yeah, and let's say VBA is with when it comes to Excel and stuff, you can do some early binding and stuff that you can't actually do that easily without a hotkey, where you can do stuff that comes up before you actually see the Excel object and stuff like that. But that's not a need that you have for everyday work with Excel, as an example. So, of course, VBA has some things that it does well, and it can send keystrokes as well if you want it to. But AutoHotkey can just do it a little bit easier with a little less typing and with maybe a little easier access to different send modes. But again, they are so comparable that one doesn't really do it better than the other, because again, it's using the same methods that's built into Windows to do it. And that's just what I'm getting to. So if you look at...
Yeah. The one I was just going to bring up, sorry, Jackie, but it just dawned on me also is the, I forget who, gentleman earlier mentioned how he's doing that thing for monitoring a folder, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things I know with JavaScript, right, on web page stuff, that's, JavaScript can't do certain things, right? Because they purposely built things in where you can't control the page the computer. But I know it's super easy with AutoHotkey to say, look at these folders or do something else in this computer, and then act on it within Excel when something happens, which is really nice.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm calling AutoHotkey kind of a bridge, because that functionality of watching a folder could probably also be written in VBA.
Yep.
Because we kind of have access to the same things.
Yeah, Yeah. So and again, all the stuff we showed with COM earlier, the VBA could also probably do, right? As well. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you want to take it out from something that doesn't really has to do with Excel, COM, Microsoft, whatever, and put it somewhere else, that could be a program that doesn't use COM, that only accepts, as sad as it might be, some keys that you send. VBA would still be able to most likely switch to the window and send the keys just like AutoHotkey would. But to me, again, with every time you actually pick one language over another, it's a matter of taste. Yeah. And that's the same thing here with everything that we do. But to us, it's just simpler to have all of the code in one place as compared to having it in multiple places. Mm-hmm. So that's how I see it. So if I use AutoHotkey to open IE and grab some values on a web page, because it's easier, I don't have a recorder to do that in VBA as an example, but I know how to do it in AutoHotkey. Mm-hmm. Taking those values and putting them in an Excel sheet, there's no need for me to go in and make a macro in Excel to do that, because I can do it directly from the AutoHotkey script. And if at a later point I wanted to show it in a message box or in a GUI, or I wanted to use it somewhere else within the same flow, then why not have everything in the same script? I would only have to edit one place.
Right.
So yeah. What are people talking about, Joe? Are you watching what they're talking about?
They were asking why you were rambling. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but I am. I am rambling.
They're chit-chatting on different stuff.
Good. It's good.
So, and as Jackie mentioned also, I think, let's see, off the top of my head, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint all have macro recorders, but IE and Outlook do not, right? So it just gets a little harder. You can't use a macro recorder to kind of help build your code.
No, and if because I've looked for solutions in VBA and stuff online as well for different types of stuff that I'm trying to do, people that have programmed either in Visual Basic or in VBA or whatever will also tell you, just like we do, that the macro recorder ain't doing it the optimal way all of the time. It might get the job done, but if you actually want to make the most optimal code, you would do it yourself. Just like it's always, if you have something selected, it would do it from the selection, and a lot of people don't initially know that they can get around that with, let's say, range or cell or whatever. So again, it's the same thing. The more you know about the specific language, the more methods you can use to actually get to a specific point. So yeah. And have we lost a lot of participants, or are they all there still?
There's 11 still there, not counting us. I'm not sure on the questions about the hotkey or recording clicks, mouse clicks. I'm not sure what the question was.
Yeah, I'm reading the last one as well by Bill. how we can save Jackie mouse click and keys, because we know he's all about that macro recorder, is for noobs and when you don't want to hunt for the commands.
Hey, Jackie.
Yeah.
This is Bill. I noticed when you're working in C-Site editor that you'd always save the file and then click run.
Yeah.
But in C-Site, if you just click the run button, it saves the file and then runs the code. So you can save a mouse click.
Yeah.
That's
Great.
how I can explain that one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a matter of remembering to save. But
Yeah, sure.
It's great to know, because now I know, and sometime in the future I might stop actually clicking save. I might, but I might not.
And if memory serves, isn't there for AutoHotkey, there's something that you can add in that it'll look, and when you go to run it, it'll see if there's been a change in your script first, and then it'll save it and then run it? So
Yeah, that's a different script, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm pretty sure that you can click F5 as well and have it run. I can't remember.
I just know if the script is in an edit state, when you click the run button, it first saves the script and then it runs it.
Okay. That's again, the toolbar is an AutoHotkey script, as I remember, made by Finks. So of course he's thought about that. So that's good. And yeah, I can see that it has the hotkey F5. So you could also just type F5, click F5, and you'd get the same functionality. Again, I'm actually very bad at optimizing my own workflow. Not compared to Joe, which has so many hotkeys and so many hot strings.
What I was going to say was, I think I would tweak the word, not optimize, but I have a lot of like hot strings that like, oh, I need to iterate over, here's where I'm going to iterate over this thing in a loop, and I've preset a bunch of stuff of like, oh yeah, I need to have some checks built into it. So things like that where I have I'd say at least probably like 1,000 hot strings when you look at all of them together, between email addresses and paths to files and folders and things. I just have a very strong naming convention that helps me remember what in the world is what.
Yeah, but I kind of like what Bill said about just knowing that I don't need to save it beforehand. But
Absolutely,
again,
yeah.
Each time I've made whatever types of snippet or whatever I have done on the forum, and some of the times it's real gold nuggets that you're getting there. But more often than not, at least, I forget to actually use it myself. I type it and I use a lot of time on maybe figuring out some kind of dilemma with it. And then I post whatever I've found to be working, but I don't really incorporate that into whatever I have running myself. It comes later.
So Jackie, to that point, we'll switch topics a little. This is an AutoHotkey script I've written that launches other scripts, and one of which is this web scraping scriptwriter I wrote. That now I can say I need to get a pointer to an IE window, right? Okay, and after I get that, I'm going to go navigate to a page. And so I have predefined, because to exactly what Jackie said, it was years where I was rewriting the same thing over and over and over, and I finally realized, why don't I write this, build a menu, because I do it so often, right?
Yeah.
And so granted I have to go back and tweak stuff, but because I don't use it frequently enough to memorize every option, this script is just, it really helps me crank out stuff very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I ever got that script from you, I would immediately go in and modify the variable name. But that's just how that is.
Yeah.
Yep. And of course, when you type AutoHotkey, you need to make sure that everything is capitalized.
Capitalized the right way. Yeah. I don't want to get in trouble.
No. So, but yeah, I really feel that it's a great tool that you've built for yourself there, Joe, because absolutely. It's something that you shouldn't do. Just earlier now in our session here, I misspelled application, which is just and ending up not really being able to see where I misspelled it because I'm a little too tired, and that's probably why I'm rambling away, and I seem to do that. But still, why not, when we are already using and have the application installed on whatever machine we are on, why not have all of these things running? If we're writing them anyway. But I'm just so bad at remembering to do that, and I should just put it in the start folder or whatever.
Well, like you said, that you do have to remember that you actually have it accessible, right? Because that's the other thing. You forget I do forget some scripts I've already written, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have that in my main one.
Yeah, but that's where I see that and I've seen others than you use this menuing functionality to kind of make it more accessible to themselves, or they have a hotkey remembering or whatever, or a hotkey categorizing script, or because
I can't. I mean, look at all these different things that I can pull up. That I can't remember all that. And these are ones I don't use as frequently. So it was just a real nice, easy way for me to have them at my fingertips.
Yeah. But yeah, to me, it really... You are in Sweden. No, not in Sweden. But yeah. And Captain Odin, he is on the spot there because I'm in Denmark, just like him. So... It's getting close to midnight here.
Late,
yeah. So, but I truly do love your. I'm still not using my own menu, but I probably should, because I see it as the most accessible way to actually access functionality that you've already used time on writing.
Yep.
And if I go into my, at the moment, opened SETI window, I'd say that I have 3 windows that are called something with test or tester or something similar to that. And they have maybe between 2 and 3 to maybe 10,000 lines of code, where most of it is just snippets I've made for people on the forums. But if I had instead had something like your menu script there, where I could easily put that functionality in there, so I could access it in 2 weeks or whatever, or remove it again if I never used it, whatever it might be. It just makes sense to have, just have something that makes it a little bit more easy to keep track of what you have available. Because I've used other people's script helpers or collection of whatever it might be, but as I've not written it myself, most of the time I don't use half of what's available.
Right.
And because at least at the beginning, a lot of people focus so much on what you can do with a hotkey. And most of the time when I'm writing something out and I'm testing it and stuff, I'll give it a hotkey to know when I'm activating it. And that makes a lot of sense. But having a lot of active hotkeys just running in the background, to me, I wouldn't really use the time of remembering them.
Yeah. I was trying to remember. I have, because that's the other one. And of course, now let me pull up. This is my main script. And there is one, it's called a hotkey help. I thought it was, because I use it for my, so this one is another, it's for new people. It'll go look at what active, so this is just looking at the hotkeys.
Yeah.
So these are all the hotkeys I have actively running right now, and it gives me a cheat sheet.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones that I talked about, that there are these hotkey helper scripts out there.
Yeah.
But if you, instead of having this here, actually had a menu that had enough parents and children, you could get access to all of this without a hotkey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just what I'm saying, that it can be good and well, everything, but a menu to me just feels like it has more usability or user friendliness, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just me rambling again.
Let me, I think this hotkey help. Someone was asking what this is. With any luck, I can paste this in the, oh, there, now I can do it. So that was, I adopted, wait, oh man, I guess I'm tired. I adapted that script instead of adopted. I guess I did adopt it as well. But what was crazy, here's the hilarious thing with the script, right, is it does the stuff I showed you, but they didn't have an easy way to call it up. They had a hotkey, but you couldn't actually like click the menu. And actually, I think that's what it was, like come in here to settings and tweak it. And so I had to give it some tweaks. So it's not exactly what's out there, but it's really close. But it you can tell it, like, so I don't have it showing hot strings.
That's because you have too many.
That's right, because let's see what happens if it automatically updates.
The domain has expired. What? Is that the link that Joe just... Yeah, really? Oh my God. Oh, that's because the link is weird. Oh, that's the first... Oh, the auto slash... the auto dash hotkey. That was one of the first ones for the AHK scripts.org.
Wow.
So
well, I'll go... You know, if you search for hotkey help, it's probably on the other forum.
You could probably just remove the dash or whatever you call those, and get to it. Or let me just see if I can modify it to work. I can't. Google is trying to help too much. Let me just try again. Let's select all. I don't want to select all. So like there, if we change this around to, don't do that for me, please.
Well, how come it did it for me? I didn't have to do anything.
Who knows?
Right to it.
It might be because it's cached for you. What I could do instead was just use, let's say, ahkscript.org instead of autos. What are those lines called, Joe? Those binding lines. I can't remember the wording right now. I keep calling it a slash, but that's not right.
Are you talking about you want to include something?
No, it's not a. It's yeah. It's a minus.
A dash.
A dash.
Okay.
And I was calling it a slash.
Yeah.
So it was a dash. So instead of having auto/hotkey.com, you could just have ahkscript.org, or you might even be able to use AutoHotkey.com. I'm not sure if you remove the dash. It also works. So you can simply just remove the dash and then it will work.
That one, it's a great one for people who are new to AutoHotkey, because it can give them a cheat sheet of, oh yeah, I can't remember it, and they can just pull up that menu and remind themselves of what they got running.
Dash, Captain Odin, thank you. So they're talking about versions of AutoHotkey now. What were you talking about, Joe? Oh, you're looking at the old forum. I was looking at the new. It seems to be both places then. Did I talk past you or whatever you call that?
No, you're good. No, I was looking at the comments as well. Yeah, that, you know, for I think I would bet you money, what, at least 85% are using AutoHotkey _L, maybe higher.
Yeah, I think that you're right about the 85 because you actually have a lot of people using the old vanilla version. So even though we don't think so, but
Right. Yeah.
it comes up quite often that people ain't actually using the _L, which is also not.
How many years has that been? Yeah.
I think it's 2 years now.
Yeah.
At least where we haven't really called it that anymore. But it still figurates so many places online that it's called _H or L. Mm-hmm. Whereas to me, sometimes it's weird that the H branch doesn't get more love.
Yeah, I agree.
It seems to have a lot of what people are asking for, but I'm not sure what it really is. It might be that the functionality where H shines is so different from how you normally see AutoHotkey used,
right?
That a lot of people just don't try it out. Maybe, not sure. That's just me guessing. Oh yeah, I can see someone there actually only using H for the del. Yeah, exactly.
But can't you still do DL calls within the norm? So is there a different functionality that you can do?
No, the H has a del, so you can call AutoHotkey functionality from a del. So you can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
From it. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, So I told you I was learning Python a while ago, and so it was nice to be able to have. I could inside Python, I could access AutoHotkey, and then from AutoHotkey, I could access Python. It was cool to be able to switch between them.
Yeah, and I also have some articles going up about some of the benefits of having that branch available to AutoHotkey. That I see it as a great thing that even though AutoHotkey just is a wrapper for the Windows API, it might still ease some of the coding that needs to be done to get access to some of the, however you see it, the functions that AutoHotkey calls. Let's say you have the win activate just to take some command from AutoHotkey. If you want to use that, the way that AutoHotkey is doing it, it has the C++ code behind it. Whereas it's actually trying to activate the window 5 times, I think, and it has a timeout also built into that command alone. Whereas I'm not sure about the C++ source. I haven't looked at it, but I'm pretty sure that that has been tested and retested because so many people use that command, and Lexicos and Chris has probably tweaked it a couple of times during the years. So when you use that function in AutoHotkey, you're actually getting something that's been tweaked a couple of times to give you the best possible method of activating a window. This is just me guessing, but that's how I kind of feel about the AutoHotkey commands. That someone has tried to use them, they didn't work quite like they thought they should, and then the developers of AutoHotkey has actually looked at it and tweaked it a little bit, or optimized it, or whatever they might have done, so that the AutoHotkey users no longer complain or get the functionality that they thought.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, that you could go in and try and do the same with the pure Windows API, but you wouldn't get all of those small tweaks.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
That's just me trying to kind of give AutoHotkey some meaning. But yeah, because again, from Python, you could easily enough access the same Windows functions in the different DELs and all of that, and get the same functionality that you get with AutoHotkey. But my hope is that all of the tweaking and optimization that's been done to that hotkey source would actually give you something at least.
An advantage, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I know I think it was called send keys. There's a library in Python that you could send keystrokes somewhat, but it was not nearly as reliable. But the hotkey, monitoring for a hotkey, I don't remember if I found a solution for that in Python. Maybe there is, but it probably is.
Yeah, and again, in Python, you could probably do whatever it is AutoHotkey does with registering either something in the registry, or monitoring the key hook or whatever you need to do. You could probably, with the right code, do the same thing in Python. But again, someone has already done it in the source of AutoHotkey. So instead of, and that's again comes down to if you want to use a pre-written library, and that's just how you should view AutoHotkey if you're using it from Python. And it's instead of loading in a module that's called Win API, then you're loading in another module that's called AutoHotkey. And that's how I viewed it, at least. Hopefully that makes a little sense. I'm starting to doubt myself here because I feel I just keep rambling. I don't know.
So there's another good question from Cat Mode there of how closely are H and L kept so they slowly drift apart.
Okay, I was reading the comments and I saw Bill saying he learned not to ask someone from Denmark if they're from Sweden.
Hey, it was a couple years ago, but I learned Denmark was an actual country, not a city. I thought it was a city, so yeah.
Yeah, we had a little talk there. It's interesting, but we are so amazingly small compared to most other places in the world. So, yeah.
So, do you know to Cap Odin's question of how similar H and L still are, and then also let's throw in version 2 as well, right? I know there's big changes in that.
I know that HotKid, he normally, whenever Lexicos, he comes out with a new version, he incorporates that directly into H. So all of the functionality that you have in L is available in H, but H just has more. That's the most easy way for me to put it. H doesn't lack any kind of functionality from L. It just has more. And that's maybe the easiest way to put it. And of course, some of the stuff that it has, and I know that Lexicos commented on some of it at some point, is that because HotKid, I think that he was kind of learning the ropes at one point. So some of the things that he has done in H at one point was kind of haggish, not in a necessarily bad way, but in a way that Lexicos maybe not felt was the correct or most stable way of doing stuff.
Yeah.
And by him saying that, he was kind of pointing at that he was not going to incorporate all of what AutoHotkey or HotKey did with the H branch, because some of it might work, but it's hard maybe to support. I'm not sure. It's just me remembering what I read. So I don't believe there's much downside to using H.
So Mason Shar 13 also was thrown out there that the little syntax differences, and maybe there are some commands or only functions now in H. Which honestly, I mean, man, I do everything I can to get out of the command. I would much rather have a function than a command.
Yeah, but yeah, there's been a lot of push for functions lately. But yeah, with version 2, where you have both, no matter what you do, the interpreter will create or give you the ability to use both. So if you use version 2 from Lexicos, you will get the ability to write out your user-defined function, but you could call it as a command if you wanted to. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and the same the other way around, kinda at least. So every built-in function could be called as a command, but every built-in command could also be called as a function.
We should try to reach out to a couple like Lexicos or someone and see if they would be interested in coming on here and giving us an update of their, what they plan to do, and that'd be awesome if they would. Yeah,
that would be totally, and we kind of have at least some kind of forum for people to talk here.
Yep.
So yeah, it would be a great input.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. We can always reach out and get a no. So
right, that's right. That's right. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we wrapping up or?
I think so. Yeah, it seems it's. I don't know about you, but I'm talked out.
I've been for a little time now. So yeah.
Is there anybody else have anything quickly they want to ask?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see some of the same faces or names or whatever.
Yeah,
it's great to at least know that we have some people coming back.
That's right. Yeah, we're not doing everything so wrong that nobody ever comes back.
Exactly, which is nice and
awesome.
Always good to see new people as well. So,
thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
have a good day and evening.
Absolutely.
All right, bye.
Yeah, bye.
Sure.